My name is Madison, and I'm about to tell you the wildest family drama that completely tore my family apart. It all started with a pair of antique ruby earrings that belonged to my great-grandmother Rose, and ended with my brother in federal prison and his wife with a criminal record. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. I'm 28 years old and live in a suburb outside of Denver, Colorado. I work as a marketing manager for a tech startup, and I've always been close with my family, or at least I thought I was. My younger brother Tyler is 26, and he's always been what you'd call the golden child. You know the type. Could do no wrong in our parents' eyes, got away with everything growing up, and somehow managed to charm his way through life without ever facing real consequences. 3 years ago, Tyler met Sophia at a charity gala in downtown Denver. She was everything he thought he wanted. Gorgeous, sophisticated, and had this way of commanding attention whenever she walked into a room. What Tyler didn't see, or chose to ignore, was that Sophia was also materialistic, manipulative, and had champagne tastes on a beer budget. Sophia came from a middle-class family in Phoenix, but she'd spent her entire adult life trying to climb the social ladder. She had this Instagram account with 50,000 followers where she'd post these perfectly curated photos of her luxurious lifestyle. Designer bags, expensive brunches, tropical vacations. What her followers didn't know was that most of those bags were knockoffs. The brunches were paid for with maxed-out credit cards, and the vacation photos were taken during a single trip to Cancun that she'd milked for content for 2 years. When Tyler introduced Sophia to our family, I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Sure, she spent the entire first dinner talking about her friend's yacht and dropping names of celebrities she claimed to have met, but maybe she was just nervous. Sure, she accidentally mentioned the price of her dress 3 times during dessert, but maybe that was just her way of making conversation. But as time went on, the red flags became impossible to ignore. Sophia would show up to family dinners and immediately start appraising everything in my parents' house. Oh, is that painting new? It must have cost a fortune. Or, that china set is gorgeous. Is it real Wedgwood? She had this habit of picking up decorative items and turning them over to check for maker's marks, like she was mentally cataloging their value. Tyler was blind to it all. He was so smitten with having this beautiful woman on his arm that he didn't notice, or didn't care, that she was bleeding him dry financially. Within 6 months of dating, Tyler had taken out a personal loan to buy her a small gift, a $3,000 handbag, had co-signed on a luxury car lease he couldn't afford, and was constantly stressed about money but refused to admit why. My parents, especially my mom Linda, thought Sophia was wonderful. She knew exactly how to play them, complimenting my mom's cooking, asking my dad Robert about his golf game, bringing thoughtful little gifts that seemed expensive but were probably from discount stores. She had them wrapped around her manicured finger. The ruby earrings that would eventually destroy our family had been in our family for 4 generations. My great-grandmother Rose had received them as a wedding gift from her husband in 1924. They weren't just valuable in terms of money, though they were worth about $15,000 according to the last appraisal. They were priceless in terms of family history. Great-Grandma Rose had worn those earrings to her children's weddings, to their christenings, to every major family celebration. When she passed, she left them to my grandmother Helen, who wore them just as proudly. My grandmother then passed them to my mother, with the understanding that they would eventually come to me as the oldest granddaughter. It was an unspoken family tradition. The earrings always went to the oldest woman in each generation. I kept the earrings in a vintage jewelry box on my dresser in my apartment. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I keep them in a safe? Well, I lived in a secure building. I had a good locks, and honestly, I never thought I'd need to protect them from my own family. When Tyler proposed to Sophia, with a ring that I later found out he'd taken out a second loan for, she immediately went into wedding planning overdrive. But this wasn't normal wedding planning. This was Sophia trying to throw the wedding of the century on a shoestring budget while maintaining the illusion that money was no object. She booked the most expensive venue in Denver, hired a wedding planner who usually worked with celebrities, and started talking about flying in flowers from Ecuador. When Tyler gently suggested they might need to scale back, she had a complete meltdown. She accused him of not loving her enough, of trying to embarrass her in front of everyone, and gave him the silent treatment for a week until he caved and agreed to her plans. The thing about Sophia was that she wasn't just materialistic. She was strategically materialistic. She knew exactly how to manipulate situations to get what she wanted. She'd cry just enough to seem vulnerable but not pathetic. She'd drop hints about things she wanted rather than asking directly. She'd compare Tyler to other men who treated their fiancés like queens until he felt guilty enough to give in. It was a Sunday afternoon in October when everything started to unravel. Tyler and Sophia had come over to have dinner with our parents and me at my parents' house in Highlands Ranch. It was supposed to be a simple family dinner. Mom had made her famous pot roast. Dad was excited to show Tyler some new golf clubs he'd bought, and I was looking forward to a drama-free evening. I should have known better. Sophia arrived wearing what she made sure to mention was a new designer dress, though I'd seen her wear it to at least 3 other events, carrying a bottle of wine that she presented to my parents like it was liquid gold. "This is from a small vineyard in Napa that only produces 500 bottles a year," she announced, though I'd seen the same label at the grocery store for $12.99. Throughout dinner, Sophia kept steering the conversation back to the wedding. She talked about how her friend's wedding had featured a champagne wall, how another friend had hired a 20-piece orchestra, how someone else had given Cartier watches as bridesmaid gifts. Each story was told with a wistful sigh, a meaningful glance at Tyler, and the subtle implication that their wedding would pale in comparison. "Of course," she said, cutting into her pot roast with surgical precision. "Tyler and I are being more practical. We don't need all those extravagant things. We're perfectly happy with our modest celebration." The way she said modest made it sound like a dirty word. Tyler shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "The venue is gorgeous, babe, and we're having a live band. It's going to be amazing." "Oh, absolutely," Sophia agreed, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "I'm sure no one will even notice that we couldn't afford the premium flower package or the cocktail hour expansion. These little sacrifices are worth it for true love." My mom, ever the peacekeeper, tried to change the subject. "Well, I think it's going to be beautiful no matter what. Madison, why don't you tell everyone about that big presentation you have coming up at work?" But before I could answer, Sophia's eyes lit up with what I now recognize was calculated interest. "Oh, Madison, I almost forgot to ask. You know those gorgeous ruby earrings you have? The ones that belonged to your great-grandmother?" My stomach immediately nodded. "Yeah, what about them?" "Well," she said, leaning forward conspiratorially, "I was wondering if I could possibly borrow them for the wedding. You know, for the something borrowed tradition. They would look absolutely perfect with my dress, and it would mean so much to have a piece of Tyler's family history as part of our special day." I felt everyone's eyes on me. My mom was smiling encouragingly, my dad was nodding along, and Tyler was giving me that puppy dog look he'd perfected since childhood. Only I seemed to sense the predatory gleam in Sophia's eyes. I'll think about it," I said carefully. "They're really delicate, and I'd hate for anything to happen to them." Sophia's face fell in a performance worthy of an Oscar. "Oh, of course. I understand. I guess I just thought, well, since I'm becoming family and all. But no, you're right. They're too precious to trust with someone like me. That's not what I meant." I started, but Tyler cut me off. "Come on, Maddie," he said, using my childhood nickname that he knew I hated. "Sophia's going to be your sister. Don't you trust her?" The guilt trip was in full effect, but I held my ground. "It's not about trust. Those earrings are irreplaceable. Maybe we can find something else for you to borrow?" The rest of dinner was tense. Sophia barely spoke, picking at her food and responding to questions with monosyllables. Tyler kept shooting me angry looks. Even my parents seemed disappointed in me. By the time dessert came around, I was ready to leave. "I should get going," I announced, pushing back from the table. "Early morning tomorrow." "But I made apple pie," my mom protested. "Your favorite." "I'll take a slice to go," I said, already standing. I needed to get out of there before I either caved to the pressure or said something I'd regret. As I was gathering my things, Sophia suddenly perked up. "Oh, Madison, before you go, could I use your bathroom? The downstairs one is occupied." "Sure," I said, distracted by trying to find my car keys. "You know where it is." She disappeared upstairs, and I thought nothing of it. I was too focused on escaping the suffocating disappointment that seemed to fill the house. Looking back, I should have realized something was off. Sophia had been to my parents' house dozens of times. She knew there were 3 bathrooms on the first floor. There was no reason for her to go upstairs. I said my goodbyes, accepted a Tupperware container of leftover pot roast from my mom, and headed home to my apartment in Cherry Creek. It was only when I was getting ready for bed that night that I noticed something was wrong. My jewelry box was slightly askew on my dresser. Not much, just an inch or so from where it usually sat. I'm particular about things like that. Probably borderline OCD about keeping things in their exact spots. I opened the box and my heart stopped. The ruby earrings were gone. I tore my room apart looking for those earrings. I checked every drawer, looked under the bed, even went through my laundry basket in case I'd somehow knocked them off the dresser. But deep down, I already knew what had happened. The sick feeling in my stomach grew as I remembered Sophia asking about the earrings at dinner, her convenient need to use the upstairs bathroom, the way my jewelry box had been moved. But I needed proof before I could accuse my future sister-in-law of theft. That's when I remembered the nanny cam. A few months earlier, my apartment building had experienced a series of break-ins. Nothing major, mostly just teenagers stealing cash and electronics. But it had made me nervous enough to install a small security camera disguised as a phone charger in my bedroom. I'd honestly forgotten about it until that moment. With shaking hands, I pulled up the app on my phone and scrolled back to earlier that evening. And there it was, clear as day. Sophia entering my room, going straight to my dresser, opening the jewelry box and pocketing the ruby earrings. The whole thing took less than 30 seconds. She'd obviously planned it. I sat on my bed, staring at the footage, feeling a mix of rage and vindication. I'd known something was off about Sophia from the start, but I'd never imagined she'd stoop to stealing family heirlooms. The question now was what to do about it. My first instinct was to call Tyler immediately, but I stopped myself. He'd just make excuses for her, maybe even accuse me of doctoring the footage somehow. No, I needed to handle this strategically. I barely slept that night, running through scenarios in my head. By morning, I'd decided on a plan. I'd wait until the next family gathering and confront Sophia in front of everyone. Let's see her try to manipulate her way out of it with witnesses present. As it turned out, I didn't have to wait long. My mom called Tuesday evening to invite me to a special family dinner that Friday. When I pressed her for details, she was evasive. Tyler and Sophia have some exciting news to share, was all she'd say. Just be here at 6 and try to be supportive. I had a feeling I knew what this exciting news was. Sophia was probably going to announce some new wedding expense that Tyler couldn't afford, but would agree to anyway. Perfect. I'd have my whole family there to witness what their precious Sophia was really capable of. I spent the rest of the week preparing. I transferred the security footage to multiple devices, made backup copies, and even consulted with a lawyer friend about my options. She advised me to file a police report immediately, but I wanted to give my family a chance to handle this internally first. Maybe that was my first mistake. Friday evening arrived, and I showed up at my parents' house with my phone fully charged and the security footage ready to go. I was nervous but determined. Those earrings meant everything to me, and I wasn't going to let Sophia get away with stealing them. The dining room was set with my mom's best china, and there was a bottle of champagne chilling on the side table. Tyler and Sophia were already there, sitting close together on the couch. Sophia was wearing a new outfit. I wondered bitterly if she'd bought it with money from pawning my earrings. "Madison," my mom said brightly, though I could see the concern in her eyes. "So glad you could make it. Can I get you some wine?" "I'm good, thanks," I said, taking a seat across from Tyler and Sophia. "So, what's this big news?" Tyler cleared his throat. "Well, we've decided to move up the wedding." "Way up," Sophia added with a giggle that sounded like nails on a chalkboard to me. "We just can't wait any longer to start our lives together. We're thinking next month." My parents exchanged surprised looks. "Next month?" my dad repeated. "But what about all the planning? The invitations haven't even gone out yet." "We're scaling things back," Tyler said, though he didn't look happy about it. "Doing something more intimate, just family and close friends." I knew immediately what had happened. They couldn't afford the extravagant wedding Sophia had planned, so instead of admitting that and downsizing gracefully, they were spinning it as a romantic decision to elope. Classic Sophia. "How wonderful," I said. my voice dripping with sarcasm that only Tyler seemed to catch. And I'm sure this has nothing to do with money troubles? Madison, my mom scolded, but Sophia just laughed. Oh, Madison, always so cynical. Not everyone values money over love like you do. That was rich coming from the woman who'd stolen family heirlooms, but I bit my tongue. My moment was coming. We sat down to dinner. My mom had made lasagna, another family favorite. The conversation flowed around wedding plans, with Sophia dominating as usual. She talked about dress fittings, flower arrangements, and her vision for the ceremony like she was planning a royal wedding instead of a rushed City Hall affair. Finally, as my mom was clearing the dinner plates, I saw my opening. So, Sophia, I said conversationally, have you figured out your something borrowed yet? Since you were so interested in my great-grandmother's earrings? She didn't miss a beat. Oh, I've decided to borrow my cousin's veil instead. It's more traditional, don't you think? I said, pulling out my phone. That's interesting, because I could have sworn you already borrowed something from me. The table went quiet. Tyler frowned. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that your fiancé stole my great-grandmother's ruby earrings from my jewelry box last Sunday. The room erupted. Sophia gasped dramatically. Tyler jumped to his feet, and my parents looked between us in shock. How dare you? Sophia cried, and I had to hand it to her. She was an excellent actress. I would never. Tyler, are you going to let her talk to me like that? Maddie, what the hell? Tyler said angrily. You can't just accuse people of stealing. I'm not accusing, I said calmly, though my heart was racing. I'm stating a fact, and I have proof. I pulled up the security footage on my phone and held it up. This is from my bedroom security camera, time-stamped last Sunday evening when Sophia supposedly went to use the bathroom. Everyone crowded around to watch. The footage was crystal clear. There was no denying what it showed. I watched their faces change as they processed what they were seeing. My mom's hand went to her mouth. My dad's expression hardened. Tyler went pale. But Sophia? She just straightened her shoulders and lifted her chin defiantly. That video doesn't prove anything, Sophia said, though her voice had lost some of its confidence. Maybe I was looking for something else. Maybe I was just admiring the earrings. Then where are they? I demanded, because they're not in my jewelry box where you supposedly left them after admiring them. Tyler, still looking stunned, turned to Sophia. Babe, just tell them what really happened. I'm sure there's an explanation. Sophia's eyes darted between all of us, and I could practically see her calculating her next move. Then she made a decision that would change everything. Fine, she said, tossing her hair back. Yes, I took them. But it was for us, Tyler. For our future. The admission hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Tyler's mouth fell open. My parents looked horrified. But I wasn't satisfied yet. What did you do with them, Sophia? I asked, my voice deadly quiet. She lifted her chin higher. I pawned them. We needed the money for the wedding venue deposit. It was either that or lose our dream location. You pawned them. My mom gasped. Those earrings are priceless. They've been in our family for generations. They're just jewelry, Sophia said dismissively. Old jewelry that was sitting in a box doing nothing. At least now they're serving a purpose, helping to start a new family tradition. I saw red. You had no right. I had every right. Sophia interrupted, standing up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. I'm marrying into this family. Those earrings should be mine anyway. What makes you so special that you get to hoard all the family treasures? The fact that I'm not a thief, I shouted back, also standing. That's when Tyler finally spoke up, and what he said next shocked me to my core. She did it for us, he said quietly, looking at me with pleading eyes. For our wedding. Maddie, you have to understand, we're drowning in debt. The venue wanted their deposit, or they were giving our date to another couple. Sophia was just trying to save our wedding. Are you serious right now? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're defending her? She stole from me, Tyler. It's not stealing when it's family, he insisted, and I could see Sophia's influence all over his twisted logic. Those earrings belong to all of us. You're being selfish, keeping them locked away. At least Sophia put them to good use. Good use? I was practically screaming now. She pawned a piece of our family history for a party. It's not just a party, Sophia interjected, her face flushed with anger. It's our wedding, the most important day of our lives. But you wouldn't understand that, would you, Madison? Because you're so bitter and alone that you can't stand to see anyone else happy. That's enough, my father said, speaking up for the first time. He looked tired and disappointed. Sophia, what you did was wrong. You need to get those earrings back immediately. I can't, she said defiantly. I already used the money for the deposit. Besides, the pawn shop probably sold them already. Then you'll pay Madison back their full value, my mom said firmly. This is unacceptable. With what money? Tyler exploded. We're broke. That's the whole point. We can't even afford our scaled-down wedding, let alone $15,000 for some old earrings. Then maybe you shouldn't be getting married, I shot back. Tyler's face went dark. Don't you dare. No, she's right, I continued, fury driving my words. If you can't afford a wedding without stealing from your own family, maybe you should reconsider your priorities. At least I have someone who wants to marry me, Tyler snarled. You're almost 30 and still single. No wonder you're clinging to those earrings. They're probably the only valuable thing in your pathetic life. Tyler, my mom gasped, but the damage was done. You know what? I said, pulling out my phone again. I'm done trying to handle this like family. I'm calling the police. You wouldn't dare, Sophia hissed. Watch me, I said, already dialing 911. That's when Sophia completely lost it. You bitch, she screamed, and before anyone could react, she lunged across the table and slapped me hard across the face. The sharp crack of her hand against my cheek echoed through the dining room. For a moment, everyone froze. Then, as I raised my hand to my stinging face, Sophia grabbed a fistful of my hair and yanked hard. You're ruining everything, she shrieked, pulling me toward her across the table. Dishes went flying. Lasagna splattered across the tablecloth, and glasses toppled over. I tried to push her away, but she had a death grip on my hair. My dad and Tyler both moved to intervene, but in the chaos, they just got in each other's way. Stop it, my mom was screaming. Both of you stop. But Sophia was beyond reason. As I finally managed to wrench myself free from her grasp, she grabbed the nearest weapon she could find, a heavy crystal wine glass. And before anyone could stop her, she smashed it against the side of my head. The glass shattered on impact. I felt a sharp, burning pain, and then something warm and wet running down my face. I touched my temple, and my hand came away covered in blood. Oh my God, I heard my mom whisper. Then louder, Robert, call 911 now. Through the ringing in my ears, I could hear my father on the phone with the emergency dispatcher. Tyler was holding Sophia back. She was still trying to get at me, screaming incoherently about how I was ruining her life. I sank into a chair, holding a napkin to my bleeding head, feeling dizzy and disoriented. My mom appeared at my side with a clean kitchen towel, pressing it gently against the wound. It's okay, sweetheart, she said, though her voice was shaking. The ambulance is coming. You're going to be okay. But I wasn't listening to her. I was watching Tyler try to calm Sophia down, whispering in her ear, stroking her hair like she was the victim here. Even after she'd assaulted me, even with my blood literally on her hands, he was still taking her side. The police arrived before the ambulance, which was probably a good thing. 2 officers entered to find a scene that looked like a war zone. Overturned chairs, broken glass, food everywhere, me bleeding from a head wound, and Sophia being physically restrained by Tyler. We got a call about an assault? The lead officer said, surveying the damage. That would be me, I said, removing the towel from my head to show them the gash. My sister-in-law attacked me. She provoked me. Sophia immediately protested. She's been harassing me all evening, making false accusations. They're not false, I interrupted. She stole valuable jewelry from me. I have video evidence, and she admitted to it in front of everyone here. The officers exchanged glances. This was clearly more complicated than a simple family dispute. Let's all calm down, the second officer said. We'll need to take statements from everyone. Ma'am, he addressed me. The paramedics are here. Let them look at that head wound while we sort this out. As the EMTs led me to the ambulance, I heard Sophia spinning her version of events to the police. According to her, I'd been jealous of her relationship with Tyler from the start. I'd made up the theft accusation to try to break them up. When that didn't work, I'd become violent, and she'd only been defending herself. Check my phone. I called out to the officers. The security footage is right there. It shows her stealing the earrings from my bedroom. One of the officers came over to collect my phone while the paramedic cleaned my wound. It was deeper than I'd thought. They said I'd need stitches. We're going to transport you to the hospital. The paramedic informed me. You might have a mild concussion. Can it wait? I asked. I need to make sure they arrest her. The paramedic looked uncertain, but the officer who'd taken my phone returned at that moment. Ma'am, I've reviewed the footage, he said. It clearly shows the suspect taking items from your jewelry box. Combined with the admission witnesses say she made and the assault we can see evidence of, we have probable cause for arrest. Relief flooded through me. They believed me. I watched from the back of the ambulance as the officers returned to the house. Through the open front door, I could see them talking to Sophia. Her voice got higher and more hysterical as she realized what was happening. You can't arrest me, she was screaming. This is all a misunderstanding. Tyler, tell them. But Tyler seemed to be in shock. He stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish, as the officers read Sophia her rights and put her in handcuffs. As they led her out of the house, Sophia caught sight of me in the ambulance. The look of pure hatred she gave me was chilling. This isn't over, she screamed. You've ruined everything, you jealous bitch. Tyler will never forgive you for this. The officers put her in the back of their cruiser, and just like that, she was gone. My mom climbed into the ambulance with me as they prepared to leave for the hospital. I'm so sorry, she said, tears streaming down her face. I should have listened to you about her. I just wanted Tyler to be happy. It's not your fault, Mom, I said, though part of me did blame her and Dad for enabling Sophia's behavior for so long. Tyler's the one who chose her. At the hospital, they confirmed I had a mild concussion and gave me 12 stitches. The cut would leave a scar, the doctor informed me, though it would fade with time. I thought it was fitting. Sophia had left her mark on our family in more ways than one. While I was being treated, my phone, which the officers had returned, buzzed constantly with messages. Most were from my dad, updating me on what was happening. Tyler had apparently left shortly after Sophia's arrest to bail her out. My extended family was already taking sides, with some supporting me and others saying I'd gone too far by involving the police. But the most interesting message came from an unknown number. Hi, Madison. This is Detective Patricia Chen with the Denver Police Department. I've been assigned to your case. When you're feeling up to it, I'd like to meet with you to discuss pressing formal charges. There are some additional matters regarding the theft that we need to discuss. Additional matters? I wondered what that could mean. I was released from the hospital around 2 a.m. My dad picked me up and the ride home was quiet. I could tell he was struggling with everything that had happened. Your brother called. He finally said as we pulled into my apartment complex. Sophia made bail. He used their honeymoon savings. I almost laughed at the irony. Of course he did. Madison. My dad started, then stopped. I don't know what to say. This whole situation, it's not how families should treat each other. No, I agreed, it's not. He helped me up to my apartment, made sure I had everything I needed, and then paused at the door. Your mother and I, we should have seen this coming. You tried to tell us about Sophia, and we didn't listen. I'm sorry. It was the first time my father had ever apologized to me for anything. I just nodded, too exhausted to have that conversation right then. I took the next few days off work to recover and deal with the legal situation. Detective Chen came to my apartment Monday morning, and what she told me changed everything. Ms. Madison, I've been investigating the pawn shop where your earrings were sold, she said, pulling out her notebook. The good news is we've located them. They haven't been sold yet. Relief washed over me. That's amazing. How do I get them back? Well, that's where it gets complicated, Detective Chen continued. The pawn shop owner recognized them as potentially stolen goods due to their age and value. He actually reported the transaction to us, which is how we were able to trace them so quickly. However, in reviewing the pawn shop's records, we discovered something interesting. She pulled out a tablet and showed me a series of transactions. This isn't the first time Ms. Sophia has pawned jewelry at this establishment. Over the past year, she's brought in several pieces. All antique, all valuable. My blood ran cold. Are you saying she's done this before? That's what we're investigating. We've reached out to other families she's been connected with. It seems your future sister-in-law may have a pattern of befriending people with valuable heirlooms and then helping herself to them. I thought about all the times Sophia had admired things in my parents' house, the way she'd cataloged their possessions. Had we just been her latest marks? What happens now? I asked. Well, that depends on you, Detective Chen said. You can press charges for just your theft, or you can help us build a larger case. If she's been doing this systematically, she could be looking at serious jail time. I didn't hesitate. I want to press full charges, and I'll help however I can. Detective Chen smiled grimly. I was hoping you'd say that. Now, I need to warn you. Your brother has hired a lawyer for Ms. Sophia. A good one. They're going to try to discredit you. Claim this is a family dispute that got out of hand. Are you prepared for that? I touched the bandage on my head. She assaulted me and stole from me. I'm not backing down. But I wasn't prepared for just how far Tyler would go to protect Sophia. The first sign of trouble came that afternoon when my phone rang. It was my mom, and she sounded upset. Madison, Tyler just left here, and he's saying terrible things. He says you've always been jealous of him, that you planted those earrings in Sophia's things to frame her. What? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mom, you saw the security footage. I know, she said quickly. Your father and I don't believe him. But he's calling everyone. Your aunts, uncles, cousins. He's telling them you doctored the video, that you've been unstable since your breakup with James last year. James, my ex-boyfriend who I'd dated for 2 years before catching him cheating. The breakup had been hard, but I'd handled it with dignity. Now Tyler was trying to use it against me? This is insane, I said. How can people believe this? He's very convincing, my mom said sadly. And some family members? Well, they don't want to believe Tyler would lie to them. He's always been so charming. Over the next week, our family split down the middle. Team Tyler believed I was a jealous, vindictive sister who couldn't stand to see her little brother happy. Team Madison believed the evidence that was right in front of them. The family group chat became a battlefield. Cousins I'd grown up with called me horrible names. Aunts who'd known me my whole life suggested I needed therapy. My Uncle Marcus even offered to pay for me to get help for my obvious mental health issues. But the worst part was Tyler himself. My baby brother, who I'd protected from bullies, helped with homework, and supported through every stupid decision, had turned into someone I didn't recognize. He was calling me 3 to 4 times a day, leaving increasingly unhinged voicemails. You're destroying my life, one message said. Sophia is everything to me, and you're trying to take her away because you can't stand to see me happy. You need to drop the charges, another demanded. This has gone too far. Family doesn't do this to family. I know about the trust fund, Madison. I know you're just protecting your money. You've always been selfish, but this is a new low. Trust fund? I had no idea what he was talking about. The mystery of Tyler's trust fund comment was solved when I met with the lawyer I'd hired, Patricia Winters. She was a sharp woman in her 50s who specialized in family law and criminal cases. In preparing for your case, I've been looking into your family's financial history, she said, sliding a folder across her desk. Did you know your grandmother left you a trust fund? I shook my head, completely blindsided. No, she left everything to my parents when she died 5 years ago. Not everything, Patricia corrected. She set up a trust specifically for you worth approximately $50,000. It was supposed to become available to you on your 30th birthday. Your parents were named as trustees. I stared at the documents, trying to process this information. My parents never told me about this. There's more, Patricia continued. The trust has been drawn upon multiple times over the past 3 years. Your brother Tyler has been listed as the recipient of several family emergency disbursements. My hands started shaking. Are you telling me my parents have been giving Tyler my inheritance money? It appears so. Roughly $20,000 has already been withdrawn. Coincidentally, that's about the amount Tyler has spent on Sophia. Engagement ring, car lease down payment, various gifts. I felt sick. The betrayal kept getting deeper. Can they do that? I asked. Legally? Technically, as trustees, they have some discretion in emergency situations. But this, she gestured at the papers. This is mismanagement at best, fraud at worst. We can add this to our case if you want. Did I want to? My parents had been giving away my money to fund Tyler's relationship with a con artist, but they were still my parents. Let me think about it, I said, taking the folder. Right now, I just want to focus on getting Sophia prosecuted and my earrings back. Patricia nodded. Speaking of which, I have some news. The prosecution has offered Sophia a plea deal. Return the earrings, pay restitution for your medical bills, and do community service. No jail time. Absolutely not, I said immediately. She assaulted me. She's apparently been stealing from multiple people. Community service is a joke. I agree, Patricia said. But I need to warn you, Tyler has been busy. He's gathered several family members willing to testify that you've been unstable, jealous, and vindictive. He's even produced text messages between you and Sophia that he claims show you gave her permission to borrow the earrings. That's impossible, I said. I never texted her about the earrings. I know. We've already had a digital forensics expert look at them. They're sophisticated forgeries, but forgeries nonetheless. The problem is proving that in court, and more importantly, proving who created them. Tyler, I said with certainty. He works in IT. He'd know how to do something like that. Patricia made a note. We'll look into it. In the meantime, be very careful about any communication with your family. Everything you say or write can be used against you. The warning came too late. That evening, Tyler showed up at my apartment. I saw him through the peephole and almost didn't answer. But some stupid part of me hoped my brother was still in there somewhere, that he'd come to his senses. Maddie, please. He called through the door. I just want to talk. Please. Against my better judgment, I opened the door but kept the chain on. What do you want, Tyler? He looked terrible. His eyes were red-rimmed, his clothes wrinkled. For a moment, I felt sorry for him. Then I remembered everything he'd done. You have to drop the charges, he said without preamble. Sophia is falling apart. She can't eat, can't sleep. You're destroying her. She destroyed herself when she chose to steal from me, I replied coldly. It was a mistake, Tyler exploded. Haven't you ever made a mistake? She was desperate. We were going to lose everything. So she stole from family? That's your solution? Tyler's face hardened. You don't understand what it's like to have nothing while your perfect sister sits on a fortune. What fortune? I asked, though I now knew he meant the trust fund. Don't play dumb, he sneered. I know about Grandma's money. Money that should have been split between us, but no. Perfect Madison gets it all. Just like she got the earrings. Just like she got Mom and Dad's approval for her fancy college while I had to go to community college. The revisionist history was stunning. Tyler had chosen community college because he'd partied through high school and hadn't gotten into anywhere else. I'd worked my ass off for my scholarships. That's what this is about? I asked incredulously. Money? It's about fairness, Tyler shouted. It's about you having everything handed to you while I have to fight for scraps. Handed to me? I was getting angry now. I work 60 hours a week. I live in a one-bedroom apartment. Meanwhile, you're blowing through money on a woman who's clearly using you. Don't talk about her like that, Tyler snarled. You don't know her. I know she's been pawning stolen jewelry from multiple people, I shot back. The police are building a case. She's a serial thief, Tyler. His face went white, then red. You're lying. I'm not. Detective Chen told me herself. Your precious fiancé is a con artist. Liar, Tyler screamed, and for a moment I thought he might try to force his way in. You've always been jealous of me, of my happiness. You can't stand that someone loves me. Someone who loves you wouldn't make you steal from your family, I shouted back. I'll prove you're lying, Tyler said, his voice dropping to something scarier than screaming. I'll prove you set her up, and when I do, you'll be the one going to jail. He turned and stormed off, leaving me shaking behind my door. I immediately called Patricia and told her about the encounter. Change your locks, she advised. And consider getting a restraining order. This is escalating beyond a simple family dispute. She was right. But I had no idea how much worse it was about to get. Over the next month, Tyler made good on his threat to destroy my credibility. The fake text messages were just the beginning. He created an entire false narrative, complete with manufactured evidence. First came the witness statements. Tyler had somehow convinced 3 distant relatives to sign affidavits claiming they'd heard me say I didn't care about the earrings and that Sophia could have them. When Patricia investigated, we discovered Tyler had paid each of them $500 for their cooperation. Then came the social media campaign. Fake accounts started popping up on Facebook and Instagram, posting old photos of me from college with captions suggesting I had a drinking problem, anger issues, and a history of lying. The photos were real, pulled from various friends' accounts. But the context was completely fabricated. The worst part was the recording. Tyler had taken a voicemail I'd left him 2 years ago, wishing him happy birthday and saying I loved him, and somehow edited it to make it sound like I was apologizing for overreacting about the earrings. It was choppy and obviously manipulated to anyone really listening, but Tyler's lawyer presented it as evidence of my inconsistent statements. Patricia was furious. "This is witness tampering, evidence fabrication, and obstruction of justice," she said during one of our meetings. "Your brother isn't just trying to save his fiancée anymore. He's committing serious crimes himself." "Can we prove it?" I asked. "We're working on it. Our digital forensics expert is documenting everything. But Madison, you need to prepare yourself. Even if we prove all of this is fake, the damage to family relationships might be permanent." She was right. The family war had reached a point of no return. Thanksgiving came and went without a family gathering, the first time in my entire life. Christmas was the same. My parents were caught in the middle, trying to maintain relationships with both their children while knowing one of them was lying. Finally, in late January, the trial date arrived. The courthouse in downtown Denver was cold and imposing. I sat with Patricia on one side of the courtroom while Sophia and Tyler sat with their lawyer on the other. My parents, looking aged by the stress of it all, sat in the gallery behind me. The prosecutor, a no-nonsense woman named Jennifer Martinez, laid out the case methodically. First, the security footage of the theft. Then, testimony from the pawn shop owner. The detective presented evidence of Sophia's pattern of similar thefts. My medical records from the assault were entered into evidence, complete with photographs of my injuries. It should have been a slam dunk. But then the defense began their case, and I watched in horror as Tyler's campaign of lies unfolded in court. The 3 relatives he'd bribed took the stand one by one, swearing they'd heard me give Sophia permission to take the earrings. They stuck to their stories even under cross-examination, though one of them kept nervously glancing at Tyler. The defense lawyer, a slick man named Richard Dalton, presented the fake text messages with a straight face, claiming they proved I'd had a change of heart after giving Sophia the earrings. "My client is the real victim here," Dalton argued. A young woman trying to plan her dream wedding, given a gift by her future sister-in-law, only to have that gift cruelly snatched away when family dynamics soured. But the defense's case began to crumble when our digital forensics expert took the stand. Dr. Sarah Kim was brilliant, walking the jury through exactly how the text messages had been fabricated. "These messages show clear signs of digital manipulation," she explained, pointing to enlarged exhibits. "The metadata doesn't match. The formatting is inconsistent with the messaging platform's standards, and the timestamp data has been altered." "Who would have the technical knowledge to create such forgeries?" Jennifer Martinez asked. "Someone with IT training and access to specific software," Dr. Kim replied, looking directly at Tyler. The real bombshell came when Patricia cross-examined the 3 relatives who'd claimed to witness me giving Sophia permission. "Mr. Peterson," she addressed the first witness, "my cousin Jake. You testified that you heard Madison give Sophia the earrings at a family barbecue last August, correct?" "Yes," Jake said, though he was sweating. "Can you tell the court where this barbecue took place?" At Madison's parents' house," Patricia smiled. "I'd like to enter into evidence Exhibit 47. Plane tickets and hotel receipts showing that my client was in Portland for a work conference the entire week of the alleged barbecue." Jake's face went ashen. I must have been confused about the date. Or were you confused about the $500 Tyler Morrison paid you last month?" Patricia asked, producing bank records. "Objection," Dalton shouted, but the damage was done. One by one, Patricia dismantled the defense's case. The second witness admitted under pressure that Tyler had helped him remember what he'd heard. The third broke down completely and admitted Tyler had paid him to lie. But the most dramatic moment came when Tyler himself was called to testify. He took the stand with confidence, still playing the devoted fiancé defending his beloved. "My sister has always been jealous of my relationship with Sophia," he said, looking earnestly at the jury. "She's never been able to maintain a relationship herself, and seeing our happiness has driven her to these extremes." Jennifer Martinez stood for cross-examination, and I could see the predatory gleam in her eye. "Mr. Morrison, you work in IT, correct?" "Yes. And you're familiar with various software programs that can manipulate digital communications?" "I mean, lots of people are. Including the specific program used to create the fake text messages between your sister and your fiancé?" Tyler shifted uncomfortably. "I don't know what you're talking about." Jennifer pulled up a computer record. "This is a purchase receipt for digital manipulation software bought with your credit card 2 weeks before these text messages were submitted as evidence. Can you explain that?" "It was for work," Tyler said quickly. Too quickly. "Your employer, Denver Tech Solutions, has stated that they don't use this software and didn't authorize its purchase." Tyler was starting to panic. That's not..." "Mr. Morrison, did you create false evidence to submit to this court?" "No." "Did you pay witnesses to lie under oath?" "No." "Did you know your fiancé had stolen the earrings when you helped her post bail?" "She didn't steal anything," Tyler exploded. "Madison is lying. She's always been the favorite, always gotten everything. The earrings, the trust fund, it should have been split equally. I deserved half." The courtroom went silent. Tyler seemed to realize what he'd just admitted, that he knew about the trust fund that supposedly didn't exist according to his narrative. "No further questions," Jennifer said with satisfaction. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. When they filed back in, I held my breath. On the charge of theft, we find the defendant, Sophia Williams, guilty. On the charge of assault, we find the defendant guilty. I sagged with relief. Tyler made a wounded sound, reaching for Sophia's hand. But we weren't done yet. After the verdict was read, Judge Catherine Foster addressed the courtroom. "This case has revealed serious additional crimes beyond those charged. Mr. Tyler Morrison, please stand." Tyler stood on shaky legs, his lawyer quickly moving to his side. "Based on evidence presented during this trial, I am ordering your immediate arrest on charges of witness tampering, bribing witnesses, fabricating evidence, and perjury. Bailiff, please take Mr. Morrison into custody." The courtroom erupted. Sophia screamed. My mother gasped. Tyler looked around wildly as the bailiff approached with handcuffs. "This isn't happening," he kept saying. "This isn't happening." As they led him away, he looked at me with such hatred that I actually flinched. "You did this," he said. "You destroyed everything." "No," I said quietly, though I don't think he heard me. "You did this to yourself." Sophia was sentenced to 18 months in prison and ordered to pay full restitution for the earrings plus my medical bills. The judge also ordered an investigation into her other potential thefts. Tyler's trial would come later, but his lawyer warned my parents he was looking at serious time, possibly 3 to 5 years for the evidence tampering and witness bribing alone. Outside the courthouse, my parents looked broken. My mom was crying. My dad seemed to have aged a decade in the past few months. "We need to talk," my dad said. "About the trust fund, about everything." We went to a quiet coffee shop near the courthouse. Over lukewarm coffee, my parents finally came clean. "We didn't tell you about the trust because we didn't think it was a lot of money," my mom said, not meeting my eyes. "And Tyler was struggling so much." "So you gave him my inheritance?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. "We thought we were helping," my dad said. "He came to us, desperate. Said he needed money for student loans, for car repairs, for medical bills. We didn't know he was spending it on Sophia." "But it wasn't your money to give," I pointed out. "No," my mom agreed, tears still flowing. "It wasn't. We betrayed your trust. We chose Tyler over you and we're so sorry." They offered to pay back what had been taken from the trust, though it would take them time. They also promised to sign over control of the remaining funds to me immediately. "What about Tyler?" I asked. "Are you going to visit him in prison?" They exchanged glances. "He's our son," my dad said finally. "We can't abandon him, but Madison, we know what he did was wrong. We know he needs to face the consequences. And Sophia? We never want to see that woman again," my mom said with uncharacteristic venom. "She destroyed our family." I wanted to point out that Tyler had done his fair share of destroying, but I held my tongue. My parents were suffering enough. We parted with awkward hugs and promises to try to rebuild our relationship. But I knew things would never be the same. The earrings were returned to me a week later. I held them up to the light, these beautiful rubies that had caused so much destruction, and wondered if they were cursed. But no, they were just jewelry. It was greed and lies and betrayal that had torn my family apart, not these innocent stones. I put them in a safety deposit box at the bank. Maybe someday I'd feel comfortable wearing them again, but not yet. They carried too many painful memories. Tyler's trial took place 3 months later. By then, more details had emerged. He'd taken out loans in my parents' names to fund Sophia's lifestyle. He'd been stealing from his employer to pay for her demands. The elaborate wedding that never happened? Funded entirely by fraud and theft. He was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison. The family fallout was complete. Those relatives who had sided with Tyler either apologized profusely or doubled down on their position that I'd ruined a young couple's lives. I cut contact with the latter group. Some bridges aren't worth rebuilding. My relationship with my parents slowly improved. They attended therapy, both individually and as a couple, to understand how they'd enabled Tyler's behavior for so long. I joined them for some sessions, working through my own anger and sense of betrayal. We always knew he was troubled, my mom admitted during one session. Even as a child, he'd lie about little things. We thought he'd grow out of it. "Instead, you rewarded it," the therapist observed gently. "By always believing him, always making excuses, you taught him that he could manipulate reality to his advantage." It was painful but necessary work. I also had to deal with the practical aftermath. The stress of everything had affected my work performance, and I'd fallen behind on projects. My boss was understanding. She'd followed the trial in the news. It had made local headlines. Family feud leads to federal charges. And gave me time to get back on track. The trust fund, once fully transferred to me, helped me make a fresh start. I used part of it to move to a new apartment in a different part of Denver, somewhere without memories of Tyler showing up at my door with threats. I also set aside money for additional security measures, better locks, a comprehensive alarm system, and yes, more cameras. Because Tyler wasn't done with me yet. The first letter arrived 6 months after Tyler's sentencing. I recognized his handwriting immediately and almost threw it away unopened. But curiosity won. "Maddie," it began, using my childhood nickname like nothing had happened. "I've had time to think in here, to reflect on everything that happened. And I've realized something. We were both victims of Sophia's manipulation." I almost laughed at the audacity. He went on to explain how Sophia had poisoned him against me, how she'd convinced him to do things he never would have done on his own. He was in therapy now, he said, learning about toxic relationships and manipulation tactics. "I miss my sister," the letter concluded. "I miss my family. I hope someday you can forgive me. Love, Tyler." I didn't respond. More letters came, about 1 a month. They varied in tone, some remorseful, some angry, some pleading. In one, he detailed all the ways prison was horrible, clearly hoping for sympathy. In another, he reminisced about our childhood, trying to invoke nostalgia. Then came the letter that changed everything. "I know you're reading these," he wrote. "I have friends outside. They've seen you. That new apartment in Capitol Hill is nice. The coffee shop you go to every morning, cute place. How's the job going? Still working late on Thursdays?" My blood ran cold. He was having me watched. I immediately took the letter to the police. Because Tyler was in federal prison, it became a federal matter. An investigation revealed that Tyler had befriended another inmate whose brother lived in Denver. He'd been paying him to follow me and report back. Tyler was charged with harassment and stalking from prison. His sentence was extended by 2 years. The letters stopped after that, but the damage was done. I became hypervigilant, always looking over my shoulder, changing my routes to work. varying my routine. The therapy I'd thought I was done with became necessary again. He can't let go of the narrative that you're the enemy, my therapist explained. In his mind, you're responsible for everything bad that's happened to him. It's easier than accepting responsibility himself. A year passed. I heard through my parents that Sophia had been released early for good behavior and had immediately skipped town. There were warrants out for her in 2 other states for similar crimes. Tyler had been just another mark to her, albeit one she'd played longer than most. I sometimes wondered if Tyler ever realized that. If he understood that the woman he'd destroyed his life for had never loved him at all. But then I remembered the letters, the stalking, the complete inability to take responsibility. And I realized it didn't matter. Tyler was who he was long before Sophia came along. She'd just given him an excuse to show his true colors. 2 years after the trial, I finally felt ready to take a real step forward. I'd been offered a promotion that would require relocating to Seattle. It was a big move, but it felt right. A fresh start in a new city where nobody knew about the family drama that had consumed my life. My parents were sad to see me go, but understood. "We're proud of you," my dad said as he helped me load the moving truck. "You've handled all of this with such strength." I didn't feel strong, I admitted. Most of the time, I felt like I was barely holding it together. "That's what strength is," my mom said, hugging me, holding it together when everything's falling apart. We'd rebuilt our relationship as much as we could. There would always be scars. The betrayal of the trust fund, their initial support of Tyler and Sophia. But we'd found a way to move forward. They visited Tyler once a month in prison, and I didn't begrudge them that. He was their son, but he was no longer my brother. That relationship had died the day he chose to destroy my life rather than admit his fiancée was a thief. Seattle was everything I'd hoped for. The constant rain suited my mood as I rebuilt my life. I threw myself into my new job, made new friends who knew nothing about my past, and slowly began to heal. I even started dating again. His name was Marcus, and he was the opposite of Tyler in every way. Honest to a fault, responsible with money, and completely drama-free. When I finally told him the whole story, 6 months into our relationship, he was shocked but supportive. "Your own brother did that to you?" he asked, holding me as I cried through the retelling. I can't even imagine. I still had the ruby earrings, still kept in a safety deposit box. Sometimes I'd take them out and look at them, wondering if I'd ever be able to wear them without remembering everything they'd cost me. My therapist said it was okay if that day never came. The earrings had served their purpose. They'd revealed the truth about Tyler and Sophia. Maybe that was enough. 3 years into Tyler's sentence, my mom called with news. "He's getting married," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "What?" I couldn't process what I was hearing. "To who?" "A woman who writes to prisoners. They've been corresponding for a year. She visits him every week." I wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it all. Tyler had learned nothing. He was repeating the same pattern, falling for another woman who was probably taking advantage of his desperation for connection. "Are you going to the wedding?" I asked. "It's in the prison chapel, just immediate family." A pause. "He asked if you would come." "No," I said without hesitation. "I'm done, Mom. I've been done for a long time." She sighed but didn't push. We'd all learned the hard way that enabling Tyler's fantasies only led to destruction. I'm writing this from the deck of my house in Seattle, watching the sunset over Puget Sound. It's been 5 years since that fateful dinner when I confronted Sophia about the stolen earrings. 5 years since my family imploded. 5 years of rebuilding, healing, and moving forward. Tyler was released from prison 6 months ago. He served 4.5 years of his 6-year sentence, extended from the original 4 due to the stalking charges. According to my parents, he moved to Florida with his prison bride immediately upon release. They send occasional updates. He's working construction, staying out of trouble, claims to be happy. I hope it's true, but I also know I'll never have contact with him again. Some wounds cut too deep to heal. Sophia was arrested again last year, this time in New York. She'd married a wealthy widower and was caught trying to sell his late wife's jewelry collection. She's currently serving 5 years in state prison. I felt a grim satisfaction when I heard the news. At least she couldn't destroy any more families for a while. My parents and I have found our rhythm. We talk once a week, visit twice a year. The trust fund issue was fully resolved. They paid back what had been taken with interest. I donated most of it to a charity that helps families deal with financial fraud. It felt like the right thing to do. Last month, something remarkable happened. I wore the ruby earrings for the first time since getting them back. It was my wedding day. Marcus and I had decided on a small ceremony in the mountains, just close friends and immediate family. As my mom helped me get ready, she pulled out the familiar jewelry box. "I thought you might want to wear these," she said tentatively. "For your something old?" I stared at the earrings, these beautiful pieces that had been worn by the women in my family for generations, that had survived theft and lies and federal trials. And for the first time in 5 years, they didn't fill me with pain. "Yes," I said, taking them from her. "I think Great-Grandma Rose would like that." As I walked down the aisle, the rubies catching the light, I thought about family. How it can hurt us, betray us, and sometimes, if we're lucky, find its way back to love. Not all of it. Not in the same way as before, but enough. Tyler wasn't there, of course. That bridge was permanently burned. But I'd learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who stand by you when everything falls apart, who believe you when the world is telling lies, who help you rebuild when the foundation crumbles. The earrings sparkled in the afternoon sun, carrying the weight of their history but no longer defined by it. Like me, they'd survived. Like me, they'd found their way to a new beginning. And that, I realized, was the real family heirloom. Not the jewelry itself, but the strength to endure, to stand up for what's right, and to keep moving forward even when the people you love most try to tear you down. My great-grandmother Rose would be proud.